Well, most of you probably know who this is, but I'll let him give you an introduction.
Hey everybody, Modelman here, depending on what channel you're looking at, but there's also Gears McTinkersome, which is where this guy here can be featured.
Exactly. I've wanted to see this car for a while.
My 1-to-1 scale car version of an X-Wing.
Yep, nice and weathered up.
All told, I spent 4 months putting 277 individually hand-cut styrene panels all over the entire thing. JB weld, doing 3 to 5 a day initially, and then 17 towards the end. Took quite a while and a bit of effort. And then the paint job itself was about a week.
Right.
And then in that regard, I built it up using a salting method where I went with a base brown and rust colors, covered that with salt, went with silver, covered that with salt, went with the colors, or white basically, and then I took a belt sander or a hand sander and just basically went over the entire body, pulling it down, so you get little effects like this. So now when you scratch at stuff, you're going to reveal silver rather than putting it on top. Right,
I've done that when I'm working on some models. Yeah. Build a Viper that way.
Yeah, it works at full scale too, it turns out.
Right.
I've had a couple panels pop off on me, so I got to reapply those.
I was also wondering how they were holding up.
Yeah, it's only like 3 since I did this in October, I think. 6-7 months.
That's not too bad. And yeah. JB Weld is pretty heavy duty epoxy.
Yeah, so at this point, one of the problems with this particular panel was that I didn't scrape up the back side of it. So it was just smooth styrene, and this is 0.030 or so generally. So towards the end of the project, when I had really learned, I started scraping up the side with a serrated jackknife, basically, and just did the entire back side and then applied that for some tooth.
Right.
And that just didn't have it there.
Right. And you're going to greebly it up a little bit, it looks.
Yeah, here and there. I'm going to go for like a second layer of small panels here and there. So like do a second layer there, just a single square or rectangle or some other similar shape.
Right.
Yeah. Then of course we got Lemons in the back, who is a work in progress rather. I've got a buddy out in Abilene, Texas, who is working on an aluminum bed. So we're gonna pop this glass out, attach the bed to this, and then Lemons will be riding on the outside of the car.
Right.
And then with a couple buddies' help at the R2 builders, they're going to help me wire them up so I can spin them and make them make noise from the driver's wheel.
Oh boy.
This is probably some of my favorite right in there. Just nice.
Oh yeah,
that's the slightest hint of rust in there.
That doesn't even look like it's plastic.
Yeah. That's the thing, when I go to tell people, who ask me questions about it, I'm like, yeah, it's plastic, and they look at it like, what?
Right.
Like, yeah, it's all paint. And I got a few panels like this that are bubbling.
But that adds to it. It doesn't hurt it.
Yeah.
But it really does add to it, because you ever have anyone just walk up and start talking to you about the car?
Oh yeah, all the time. I'm
sure you do.
I've had people at stoplights yell at me from several lanes across some kind of Star Wars phrase. I've had people at a stoplight run from 5 cars back up, yell in my passenger window, "Dude, this is awesome!" Run back to his car. Well, when it goes green, everybody is always taking a photo of this thing.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And it looks like you guys are the first ones to hear this, that this car may be on display at Celebration in April. So we're still working on the paperwork for it, but the initial approval is there to have a lot of Star Wars themed cars.
Okay.
So it should be a bit of fun.
Yeah, and you're in an area where you could get where there probably is a group of people who do this to cars. Yeah,
there's 2 or 3 overall in Southern California.
Whereas me in College Station, Texas, I would be alone.
That makes you unique.
Yeah, it would make me unique.
Fight the power.
Yeah, well, all I have is a Ford Ranger I can play with.
Yeah.
What am I going to make that, a garbage cow?
Star Destroyer?
Nah, it wouldn't even look like a Star Destroyer.
Maybe Star Trek or Battlestar. Yeah, Battlestar Colonial Shuttle. TOS.
No,
Yeah.
because it's got this big long nose on it. You got to have something that
Yeah, I'd have to see it to really.
right, something more like a minivan you could make into something like that. But
Yeah.
I don't have a minivan. I got a Ford Ranger.
Yeah.
The closest I came is I put a Bracuri Cruiser sticker on the back from Babylon 5.
Yeah.
It's the closest I came. All right. Well,
There's a bit more work on this to go here and there, but I got to do a lot of interior now at this point, I think.
right. Get the interior down where it looks right.
Yeah.
Because you're good on the exterior as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think so. I got to do something with the front here, and other than that, yeah, maybe redo a few panels with a single color here or there.
Right.
So it's all touch-up little stuff now.
Right.
And then, of course, the overall theme is red too, specifically. So this gray stripe there is an identifying mark. And
Yeah, see, I don't know anything about those marks.
yeah,
Something I'm going to have to learn soon.
yeah, all 5 of them or 10 of them were painted totally different. They've got the basic
Well, I knew
stripe,
that.
but
I knew
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I knew that. I knew they all had different paint jobs, but I didn't know how to identify them.
yeah. Over at Modeler Magic,
Of course.
that's the guy that's got it all written out by
Of course.
1, 2, 3. And so
Plus, I know some people I can quiz.
So how about I turn into Model Man now and we head up and
That's
have a look
fine.
at the bench.
That's fine.
There
Finally!
it is. Now it's
So I'm going to start that all over.
take 3.
Although we had a good conversation going, your eyes are not deceiving you. Modelman Tom right there.
Hey,
Me,
everybody.
Dad Grindles, over here. Hi, people. We got
Hey.
2 cameras. I'm going to be looking back and forth. We've been having a long discussion about model building, industry, forums, freaky people on the beach, because we went to the beach, hamburgers with pineapple, restaurants, and how come they cost so much. We did talk about that. No,
Yep.
we didn't.
No.
Yeah, we did.
Briefly.
Briefly. We've had a long conversation about a lot of things. And we should have been videotaping the whole thing, and we were not videotaping.
Yeah. There were some good moments in there we could have.
Yes, I'm sure all of you would love to have heard. So,
we
we're
can try and
videotaping.
recap some,
We can.
I think.
Yeah, I think we can. We talked about Tom's business modeler brand
Yep.
and his LED sales. We talked about Radio Shack dying, which to me wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because it's a bad thing because if I need a resistor, I can't just go get it anymore. Living in small town Texas, we got limited availability of that stuff. But it's not a bad thing because $4 per LED was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay?
Totally.
Tom has a business selling LEDs, and we were talking about what he could do to help improve that. So if anyone has any ideas, forward them that way.
Yeah, stop by modelersbrand.com, or you can email me at sales@modelersbrand.com. If you have ideas for products you'd like to see, or if you've been through the website and you think maybe it could be a little clunky or it could be better, or you have just any ideas at all, let me know. I'm always happy to help and talk to anyone that is willing to talk to me.
Right? Yeah, and I've been trying to help him figure out how to redo things. So,
Some very good ideas, too.
Yes.
Thank you.
you're welcome. I've run a small business for years. I've done advertising. I've done all that. So I was just sharing the knowledge. So that was our lunch conversation.
Yep.
Before that, I don't think we really talked about much of anything before that, did we?
Here and there, the Jupiter.
You
a
showed me the
little,
Jupiter
and
too, which is sitting back in that corner.
Yeah,
You
we-
guys can see it,
We'll get some footage for you on this camera at some point,
right?
if you folks are interested. There's 1,000 fiber optics in there, and several sequencers, and God knows how many LEDs. A dozen
Right.
or two at least. But
Right.
the fiber optics was the big work on that one.
Right. And we've been talking about the big spring contest that will have started by the time you see my video. Tom might get his up before then. That's up to Tom. I'm not going to put a restriction saying, no, you must wait for me.
Nope.
I'm not that kind of person. He can do what he wants. That's the way I am.
We'll see. But I've been a little lazy on videos lately too myself, so
True.
That can take some time too.
True, but if he decides to put it up today before I get home, I don't care. I'm not going to cry. Well, I think half my subscribers, they know who he is, but they may not watch his videos regularly.
Right. I think a lot of my guys know who you are, and
Exactly.
every time anyone asks me, well, what about this for an LED, or how do you make it blink? I'm like, go check out Bad Grendel's videos, because he's got
I know
a
how to
lot of
make
good
them blink.
stuff back there.
Right. And that's one thing I didn't talk to you about. Those pre-wired kits you buy from some of the other places around. I'm not going to name names. Tom may if he wants to. I'm not. But you can go to certain websites and you can buy a Federation blinking kit. Okay? Those kits are like $80 to $100.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And other than things like the photon effect, which I haven't figured out how to do cheaply yet, where the photon lights up and then goes off.
Yeah.
When you push a momentary switch. That's got to be programmed with an Arduino or a microcontroller of some kind. But other than that, the position lights and the navigation lights, that can be done with timing chips. I've got videos up for. That's what motivated me to learn that stuff. And those things are expensive. Those kits.
Yeah.
Whereas a 555 timer chip is under $1.
Easily, yeah. And that's part of my philosophy with Modeler's brand was, rather than competing with guys who already know how to make boards, I supply all the stuff you need, so for the same price as one board from anyone else, you can get enough materials to light up several models, if not more than that. But there's a big learning curve there, too.
There is a bit of a learning curve. The 4060 timer chip, there really isn't a learning curve.
Yeah.
It's almost nothing to put it up.
Well, as far as getting the particular capacitor to work with a transistor for a particular
the resistor,
timing,
right?
or...
That's it.
Oh,
that's
okay.
You got a resistor, you got a capacitor. Once you get those two down, you just plug LEDs in. There's no resistors on the LEDs because the chip itself regulates the voltage down.
Right. That makes sense.
So it's an easy one to learn first.
Right.
It can only blink though; it can't strobe. And that's one limitation. It's just a timing chip. You put timing across the signal pin, and then it's got a multiplier of different times on the other pins.
Oh, that's all that does?
That's all it does.
Oh, okay.
So once you get your signal, your pulse rate going from the capacitor and the resistor, the other pins are just multiples.
Oh, okay.
So if this is blinking once a second, this pin over here is blinking once every 10 seconds. This pin over here is blinking once every 5 seconds. They're multiples of 8, which, if you know anything about computers, you understand why it's a multiple of 8.
Right.
They're 8-time multipliers. But that's what it does, and that's why I just tell everyone, just play with the pins. See how you can blink.
Yeah, I figured there was like magic in there or something.
No,
and you had
no
to
magic.
cast spells. And... So that's where I am with math.
Not me. I'm the other way. I know the math. The other thing about the 4060 is the polarity of the LED doesn't matter. Because it flip-flops the current.
Oh. So does that get a high-frequency flickering going on for the LED?
No, not on that.
Oh.
Not unless you'd use the wrong capacitor-resistor combination.
Okay.
Then you got a high flip-flop rate. So the LED will flicker.
Okay.
But if you use the right combination, they won't flicker.
Okay.
And that's how you can put police lights on a car. This one's on while this is off, and then they flip back and forth. They wig-wag.
That's easier than I was thinking.
It's very easy because you just put one with the positive side here, the negative side here, and on the other one you put the positive side here and the negative side here.
Okay.
Both of them coming off the same two pins. So one lights up while the other one's not.
See, I've watched all his videos on this, and that one sentence, too, right there just makes it so much easier to understand that I think for me, a lot of the trepidation of getting into timing chips is there's something mystical about them, or there's something otherworldly, black box little thing that...
But there really isn't.
But yeah, and having someone like this to be able to talk to, it's like, oh, okay, all of a sudden clarity is like all over the place. And you're like, it makes sense, you know?
Right. And that's one of the things we were talking about with him on his Modeler brand site, is a lot of you guys want to get into lighting, but you're unsure. You've watched my videos, you've watched some of his, you still don't know how to get into it. Make some instructional videos. I keep meaning to, but I have a small business with 15 to 20 employees. Sometimes I work 80, 90 hours a week. So I don't always have time to do things. That's why my model build rate is so low. Because I've got maybe 2 hours a week to work on a model with. That's it. I've got a family, I've got a job. There just isn't a lot of time sometimes. So I was telling him, you guys need to see that you can take 2 AA batteries and a blue LED and some wire and have light. And it's that simple. No resistors.
No math, no thinking.
No. You just got to get the polarity of the LED right. If you get it backwards, it won't light up. You get it forwards, it does. That's it. Stick a switch in, turn it on and off with, and you're done. So if you got a Battlestar Galactica Viper, and you want to light the rear engines, white LEDs, 2 AA batteries, and a switch. That's all you need.
Yep.
You want to light the cockpit, that's a little bit different. Some fiber optics, and some Tamiya clear paint for the fiber optics.
Because Sharpie marker won't work.
I tried. I tried it too. It don't work. I've tried.
Oh, Sharpie's great. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Nah, not
I've
quite
tried
strong
Future
enough.
floor polish with food dye. Don't work.
Huh.
It'll work as a clear paint, but it won't work on the fiber optics. The light's too intense and it washes it right out.
That makes sense.
You don't have enough dye saturation in the Future.
That makes sense.
But Tamiya paint does work. But you got to be careful with it because it scrapes right off the fiber.
No. There's always these little tricks here and there.
It's kind of like shielding the fibers from cross illumination.
Yeah, that was a really great tip. I enjoyed yours.
Right, you've got to paint the fibers black.
Yep. All that bleed going on. I wish I had known that before I was working on my Jupiter, because there's a little bit of bleed going on. It's not too obvious, but when one particular fiber is blinking off, you can see a dash of bleed coming through from another fiber next to it that's on. So
right, and if he'd painted them black beforehand.
And now I can't because it's too dangerous.
Maybe you could.
That'd be a lot of masking and a lot of worry while I did it. So yeah, it could be
what
done,
about a
but
slightly thinned down enamel paint?
that could do it.
That would get in between the fibers.
Yeah, on
On some of it might work. We're brainstorming. See the little clouds up here?
Yeah, it's like on all the fibers.
Yeah, like that would work on these.
But I couldn't spray it on because
no, but if you
that'd
use
be
a slightly
dangerous.
thinned down, I'm saying enamel paint.
Brush it.
Brush it, and the enamel won't eat into the fibers.
Yep, that could work.
And just dab it on there and let the capillary reaction pull it into the fibers.
That makes sense.
It'll dim it. It won't shield them completely because you can't get enough paint in there to do that.
Yeah.
But it'll dim it enough so that crosstalk goes away.
Yeah, it could very well be. That'll be something I should try. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't try it on that. I'd take a bundle and try it separately.
Yeah. Too close to finished.
Yes,
no more
exactly.
experimentation.
No experiment on that. No. I know how much work you've got in that.
Yeah.
And it shows on the inside. It really does show.
Yeah. I just gotta get off my butt and finish this shelf queen off.
Yeah, that was another conversation he brought up and we never finished. Motivation. How do you motivate yourself to work on these models when you hit a shelf queen spot?
Yeah.
Like, I've got more than one that just sits at home, and I just look at it and go, I need to find the time, and then I go off and watch something on Netflix. Okay? Or the wife starts calling dinner's ready, and I'm like, okay, and then I put it off, I come back up and go, ooh, there's that model, let's do that one. Scott, Scale Model Addict, just had a video up on this. He was saying a big model stash is a distraction. Because you walk in and you're like, well, I can do that. That looks a lot more fun than this.
That could be.
Could be.
Because I know I only caught the title of that because all my other subscriptions knocked it out before I could watch it.
That's one of those things I don't like about YouTube.
That was difficult. But the general gist of it seemed to be how do you keep your focus?
Yeah, how do you keep your focus? How do you keep your motivation going?
It's tough, definitely. I mean, this is 5 years and 1 month old right now since I started this, and basically the month after I began it, I was still hopeful, but that's when I met my wife again, and
yeah, that'll do it right there.
As soon as life gets, the important things in life are more important than a hobby, and when you lose a lot of time away from the hobby, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I could work on that, but oh look over there's something else, or there's all these little distractions going on. And actually forcing yourself to sit down and work on it, you don't want it to turn into something tedious where it's a chore.
Don't, because as it becomes a chore, you're going to stop working on it.
Yeah. I think for me, this became a chore at some point, and I had to just get away from it for a long while. And tying back to Scott's video, one of the things, I'm a fine artist by training, and one of the things when I used to do a lot of oil paintings was I'd keep 3 or 5 of them going on. So you get bored with one or you hit a roadblock, move
Right.
to the other, move to the other. And the same thing with my models. Before I started the Jupiter, I had 5 or 6 going on, and they were always moving. And then you can gang stuff in together. So you're going to paint 3 different models this color, or you're going to work on the electronics for these 2, or you're going to finish those 2
Right.
off, and you just always have some motion going on. I
Right.
think that really helps.
That was me on the last spring contest. I got near the end of the TIE Fighter, so I brought out that Cylon Raider. And they're both getting painted somewhat the same. They're both getting put together somewhat the same.
Yeah.
So it was really easy to throw the Cylon in, because while I'm painting the TIE Fighter, I can work on the Cylon while
Yeah.
that paint is curing. And you want to let that paint sit for a day or 2.
Yeah.
So it's easier to do that. And then when you get stuck on something and it's a long-term project, you get stuck.
Yeah. Especially like on this, instead of doing several different things, or the same thing on several different models, this became step-by-step linear. So I had to do this, then I had to do that, and there was no bouncing around at all, and I
Right.
had to follow the way this model itself needed to be built. And
Well, hello, you.
we
We have a visitor.
Yeah,
Bean.
we got Bean.
Bean.
Hey, Bean.
Safety Officer Bean.